Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, well, today is hump day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is hump day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. Now, you might have noticed, wasn't here the last couple of days, was actually out of town with the family. We were visiting Yosemite, having a good old time with some of the grandkids, with my daughter and my son-in-law and my wife. And anyway, we were having a good old time. And well, let's just say the internet connection there isn't exactly conducive to doing a live stream. So anyway, y'all had to do without for a couple of days, but I'm sure y'all managed. I'm sure you managed just fine. But we're here today. We'll be here for the rest of the week, talking news, commentary, yada, yada, yada. Let's go ahead and we'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and jump right into it and do it the way we usually do. And starting off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. They make rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length at hitmanindustries.net. If you've purchased an AR in the last few years, chances are you already have one of their barrels. Why not get another one? Once again, just hit up hitmanindustries.net. Then you've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. You need to find out why. Please visit them at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hawgholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. They like helping Americans wear guns. That's why they spell hog that way. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you use the discount code of The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, you're going to get your hog holster on discount today. And then finally, it's time to buy some new gear, folks. It's getting warm out there. You know you need your hot weather gear, right? You know that. That's just kind of the way it is. So first place you need to go and check is uscombatgear.com. Just go to uscombatgear.com and check them out today. They have a huge selection. They have competitive pricing. They have the best customer service on the market. Trust me. And by the way, they specialize in group sales. So if you are a part of an agency, if you're part of a Boy Scout troop, if you're part of any group that likes to do purchases, that does purchases, you need to check them out today. uscombatgear.com, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. Finally, I would like to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, please take a moment and subscribe to the 2A newsletter. This is the place to get all of your 2A news delivered to your email box Monday through Friday, whether it's from the 2A news community, whether it's from the mainstream or the mainstream media, whether it's from vlogs, whether it's from blogs. Trust me, you will find all the 2A news that you could possibly use. You will find it in your mailbox on a daily basis simply by going to 2anews.us. That's 2anews.us and subscribing to the 2A newsletter. All right. Also want to remind you, if you're watching this program during the 3 o'clock hour on the West Coast or during the 6 o'clock hour on the East Coast, you are watching us live, and we would love to hear from you. Looking right over here for your comments. All we ask is that they are interesting. Like, stuff like, what's your name? Where are you watching us from? What town are you from? What do you think about the show? And, what do you think about the particular topic? And now, I'll tell you what, the most interesting things are when you disagree with us, because when you disagree with us, it gives us the opportunity to mock you.
Oh, wow. Is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
As Mike would say, we will mock you. All right, let's jump right into it. And here's something you're not going to hear much from the mainstream media. That is, Trump is winning. And when I say Trump is winning, I mean America is winning. In this particular case, it is most definitely so. And it has to do with Trump's program known as Operation Summer Heat. Now, in this particular case, it's Summer Heat 2.0. Right? Because they're halfway through Summer Heat 2.0. And the numbers are, quite frankly, are astounding. The amount of success that they are having in terms of being able to deal with crime, deal with criminals, to be able to remove drugs from the streets, being able to locate lost children. They are just kicking butts and taking names. Once again, this is an exclusive over at Bearing Arms because obviously the mainstream media, once again, won't talk about it. Oh, I'm sorry. I pulled up the wrong one. That's the story we are going to be talking about. This is the one right here. Exclusive. FBI's Operation Summer Heat 2.0 sees hundreds of arrests, drugs seized, and 120 children located. FBI Director Kash Patel is pleased with Operation Summer Heat 2.0, and the FBI is revealing new overarching statistics showing the crackdown on crime has been massively effective. The historic Operation Summer Heat, led by Dan Bongino, paved the way for the most prolific run of crime reduction in American history, and his FBI is doubling down. FBI Director Kash Patel told Breitbart News exclusively. All 56 FBI field offices nationwide are fully engaged in Summer Heat 2.0, crushing violent crime networks across the country. And at the formal halfway mark, we've already arrested over 1,500 violent offenders, conducted 850 drug seizures, recovered 590 kilos of cocaine, and located more than 120 children. This is the life-saving, righteous mission this FBI and the administration are dedicated to, and the results speak for themselves. Last summer, the FBI led the offensive against crime, Operation Summer Heat, with then Deputy Director Dan Bongino. While Bongino is now gone from the FBI, Patel, the director of the Bureau, has doubled down and is significantly targeting criminal operations nationwide. FBI told Breitbart there have been more than 1,500 violent offenders arrested nationwide this summer so far, with more than 850 drug seizures conducted, and more than you already told us all that in the piece. Here we go. The summer's actions kicked off in Pittsburgh field office with Operation Tough War, the open salvo of the FBI nationwide as part of Summer Heat 2.0, netting 32 narcotics and weapons-related arrests in West Virginia and Maryland back to back in early June. Folks, if there is a function, if government has a function, and I think that there are plenty of people out there who would agree that there is a function to government, this is supposed to be one of those. This is supposed to be one of those things, right? It is protecting people, right? It's protecting us from enemies, foreign and domestic. And in these particular cases, well, I guess in some of these cases with some of the drugs, could be foreign, could be domestic. But these are people who are here in the United States and they are taking them down. I wonder why the mainstream media won't talk about this, because here's the thing. They're all bragging about, look, crime is going down. Crime is going down in LA. Crime is going down in New York. Crime is going down in Baltimore. They're all talking about how crime is going down. But they're ignoring the fact that, well, this FBI, this administration, and by the deployment of some National Guard troops, this military are actually taking steps to reduce crime. And what's really neat about it is they're making it very high profile. Even the things that people don't like, right? Like the ICE raids, right? They hate it. They absolutely hate it. But guess what guess who hates it even more? Guess who hates it even more? The criminals. Because what you're telling them is, we're coming for you. And this isn't a partisan thing. I'll tell you, I've said this and I bragged on my sheriff, and I'm going to brag on him again. That's exactly what our current sheriff is doing. And he's a Democrat here in Sacramento County. He's cracking down on criminals. He's cracking down on drug traffickers. He's cracking down on home invaders. He's cracking down on retail theft. He's cracking down on sex crimes, and he's promoting it and talking about it. And as a result, we're seeing a reduction in those crimes. Wow. Let's see. If you want to see crime reduced, how about you enforce the law? See, that's what's funny. If you want to see less crime, you don't cut law enforcement. You don't defund the police. You actually make it so that they can do their jobs. And you don't just do it, you promote it. You let people know we're coming after you. And when you do, they move on. They find someplace else to go. They find something else to do because they don't want to go to jail any more than, anyone else. They've chosen a life of crime because in many cases it's easier than doing the right thing. Well, how about we make doing the right thing easier than committing a crime? How about when you arrest somebody, they actually do jail time? How about that? Maybe, just maybe. How about we do that? Anyway, a lot of people have talked about the qualifications of Kash Patel, trying to say, oh, he's not qualified. He doesn't have enough law enforcement experience. Well, I'm sorry. He's doing a bang-up job. I mean, I haven't heard about him, I haven't heard about it. So far, I haven't heard about the FBI, I don't know, infiltrating political campaigns of Trump's political enemies. Although I will say this, the Justice Department has made it a point to investigate some things that might involve some other politicians. I ain't gonna lie about that. But there are also things where clearly there's reason to believe that crimes were committed. And by the way, they're doing it. They're putting the information out there and letting you know that these investigations are happening. It's not like they're infiltrating people's campaigns, and secretly spying on them like some folks did. Not saying, just saying, but hats off to Kash Patel. Hats off to the folks over at the Department of Justice. Hats off to President Donald Trump. Now, here's one where I want to take my hat off, but I want to more take it because I want to throw it at somebody. And I want to throw it at somebody because this is, academia is supposed to be objective, right? It's supposed to be about getting at the truth, right? Medicine is not supposed to be political, right? So here you've got medicine is political. Now they've been turned political. And you've now got a guy over at who's running a top medical school here in the United States of America, basically here in California. And he's asked a very simple question. And needless to say, he has a very hard time answering it.
Framework for gender and sex concepts in teaching advises against using the term pregnant women. Instead, it says to use pregnant people. Who are pregnant people compared to pregnant women? Just curious.
So that is a part of a curriculum to help our students who are facing a wide diversity of patients. Of course, the vast majority of pregnancies are in women, and I have absolutely no problem with using the word pregnant women. I use it myself.
Has a non-biological woman ever had a baby?
A transgender person can.
Has a non-biological woman ever had a baby?
I would
No,
reiterate, we
it's
take care.
ridiculous.
Yes, it is ridiculous. And this is what's funny. So this is a piece over at the California Post. Moment, head of top California medical school squirms when asked whether only a woman can get pregnant. The head of one of the country's top medical schools sparked outrage during a tense House hearing after refusing to say that only women can get pregnant. Dr. Sam Hawgood, chancellor of the University of California, San Francisco, was pressed by Washington lawmakers Tuesday after the school's guidelines against using the term pregnant women while testifying about the impact of DEI initiatives in medical schools. Dr. Hawgood, you see that? Okay, we already heard all of the stuff that he had to say. Miller shot back after the doctor if a non-biological woman could carry a child. A transgender person can, Hogwood replied. That's not a biological woman, Miller responded, asking again if a non-biological woman has ever had a baby. I would reiterate, Hogwood started before Miller interjected, that's ridiculous. We take care of transgender patients, the chancellor continued. Representative Randy Fine of Florida also had a testy exchange with Hogwood. asking the chancellor who can become pregnant besides women. Oh, here's another one. I didn't pull down that video. Anyway, when Fine pressed further about the definition of transgender women, a woman, of a transgender woman, the chancellor shot back, "You heard what I said. They don't recognize transgender." A doctor finally stated that transgender men can carry children, leading the congressman to call the remark insane. So once again, and here's the thing, is we're talking about ignoring basic biology. And I think this is important to note. I mean, once again, if you want to live your life a certain way, you have every right to. If you decide that I want to dress as a woman, that you want to have a woman's name, you have every right to. But you don't have a right to require or force other people. And in cases like this, we're talking about specifically ignoring biology, right? And if we're talking medically, right? We're talking medically. When you say a biological woman, a woman is a biological woman. It is a biological thing, right? Being a woman is a biological thing because supposedly there are different types of women. There are masculine women. There are feminine women. There are women who like men. There are women who like women, right? There are tall women, there are short women, there are women firefighters, there are women boxers, there are women secretaries, there are women teachers, right? What they're saying is that unless you fit a specific if you fit a specific stereotype, meaning you are effeminate, you have long hair, if you just want to be a woman, then you are a woman. No, it doesn't work. I mean, you can appear that way, you can dress that way, and that's okay. You have every right to do that. But you don't have a right to force everybody else and to create confusion. And that's really what it is. It's creating confusion when you say, well, who other, like, oh, well, I still remember when they had the first man to have a baby, and it turns out it was a trans man, meaning it was a woman who had transitioned to becoming a male or to becoming a man. Not a male, but call themselves a man. And once again, that's not a man. That's a woman. That's a woman who identifies as a man. If you want to say that's a woman who identifies as a man, you can say that, but it's not a man. It's just not. And I think especially, I always wondered, and I've had conversations with friends of mine who are gay, and we've talked about this, and I'm like, so do you ever worry that, okay, one time a boy who's maybe effeminate, maybe he's actually gay, is now they're going to try and convince him that he's actually a woman and it's going to alter his body and take chemicals that are going to permanently harm his body or permanently alter his body or her body. Maybe she's a little, tomboy, or maybe it's a little girl who's actually prefers women and this turns out to be right. But are you worried about them transforming that individual's body in order to make them another gender? And you know what? That's a big thing. There's a reason why there is a group called Gays Against Groomers, right? Because their biggest thing is they're like, no, you shouldn't be messing with kids. Let kids figure out who they are, right? Anyway, this should not be happening. And when you when you allow the confusion to exist, this is how we go from look, they just want to live their lives. They want to be safe. They don't want to have to worry about being attacked, right? They just want to live their lives, being tolerated to being celebrated to being forced to celebrate. Because now what's happening is the exercising of what they deem to be their rights, which is the right to be celebrated as whatever gender they identify as, it's now impeding on the rights of other individuals because now you are telling them. So, for example, in some states, it could endanger if I'm in the middle of a custody battle and I don't refer to my child as the gender that they want to be identified as, I could lose my parental rights. I could lose custody of my children for that. That's forced speech. That's compelled speech. There have been a number of cases in schools where professors and teachers they've either been disciplined or they've been fired because they wouldn't use a student's desired pronouns. Guess what? In each and every one of those cases that have gone to the appellate level, I won't say in each and every, but at least the 3 that I know of, the professor or the teacher won. They won because it was considered compelled speech. Right? In some cases, it was religious. In other words, they believe that you're born male or you're born female. In some cases, it's just a matter of, look, it's just common. English says there's he, she. They is referred to the plural. So if you want a they, you better go get somebody else because there's more than one of you. I mean, am I wrong? Anyway, once again, this is not me trying to tell other people how to live their lives. I'm just saying, don't tell me how to live my life. Don't tell me how to, or don't tell my kids, don't tell my wife, don't tell my friends, don't tell other people how to live their lives in a way that allows you to never be questioned as a part of your life. I mean, come on. Anyway, but this is, once again, this is the top medical school. This is University of California, San Francisco. Now, obviously being in San Francisco, yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why they couldn't identify it. But anyway, all that having been said, anyway, dude's a weirdo. Anyway, but just so you know, folks, this is so you know, for those of you who think that this culture war is gone, it's not gone. For those of you who think it's dead, it's not dead. All they're waiting for is for liberals to take over the Congress, for liberals to take over the White House again, is for liberals to be in charge again, progressives to be in charge again, for democratic socialists to be in charge. Now, I'm just be in mind, when the democratic socialists take charge, it's over. Because they've already said their goal is to bring communism. Their goal is to bring socialism, communism. Their goal is to undo and tear down the entire system. Not my words, their words. Those are their words, their goal. So, anyway, going to be interesting once we finally, if we ever get there, I pray that we do not. All right, folks, that now brings us to our next story. LA legislator demands gun control after former staffer killed, or shot, by the way. So I know this legislator. His name is Mike Gibson. Mike Gibson is how do I put this? He's a gun grabber at his heart. This is a guy who I testified against a number of his bills. He knows absolutely nothing about firearms. He knows nothing about the anti-gun legislation that he puts forward. All he does is get up and spout, "They're killing the children." And I literally, I abused his bill so bad. That was his only response before storming out of the committee. After a Democratic committee, by the way, in the California legislature said, "Yeah, something's wrong with your bill, dude. This ain't working." I mean, it was a committee made up of a bunch of anti-gunners, but even they knew how bad this dude's bill was. Anyway, he now, because he had a former staffer who was shot and killed, he now wants to institute more gun control. Let's read a little bit about it. If you are predisposed to support gun control, losing someone you care about will definitely tip you over the edge. If you're already anti-gun, nothing is going to solidify the position more for you than something like that. Not everyone who loses someone is anti-gun, of course. Ryan Petty and I are two examples, but it does seem to make those who are anti-gun a lot louder. Enter Los Angeles, because of course. An assemblyman, his name is Mike Gibson. Well, there it is right there. An assemblyman in the city is understandably upset after a former staffer was killed at a block party in Compton over July 4th weekend and is calling for gun control. This is from a piece, an article there in LA. Assemblymember Mike Gibson, a Democrat from Carson, says a deadly 4th of July weekend shooting in Compton that claimed the life of one of his former staff members underscores the urgent need for stronger gun safety laws at both the state and the federal levels. The shooting was one of several acts of gun violence reported across California over the holiday weekend, renewing debate over firearm regulations and the limits states face on enacting gun control measures. At the block party in Compton, a gunman opened fire on a crowd, killing Eric Washington, a former California Assembly aide, and Maya Bordenov Jenkins, while injuring 3 others. Now, this tragic, obviously, but Compton has been known for a rough neck of the woods for decades. And back in the day, it was synonymous with gang culture in the city. I'm not saying that Washington was involved in what sort of in that sort of thing, because there's no indication he was, but he didn't actually have to be. It was a block party. Anyone could come and go. What I'm saying, though, is that the problems in Compton go beyond anything that gun control could do. After all, this is California. It is the most restrictive state in the nation when it comes to guns. What exactly is Gibson quoted as saying? I'm glad you asked. The Compton tragedy, he goes back to the story. The Compton tragedy also comes as California and other states continue to navigate legal challenges to their authority to regulate firearms. A recent Supreme Court decision in Wolford v. Lopez invalidated portions of a Hawaii law that prohibited people from concealed carry permits from bringing firearms onto private property that is open to the public without the owner's consent. Supporters of the law say it is intended as a common sense measure to limit firearms in public spaces. But the Supreme Court ruled that portions of it violated the Second Amendment. Some advocates worry the ruling will weaken the state's ability to enact gun legislation. Gibson is among those expressing concern. Quote, because the Supreme Court's decision to strike down protections in Wolford v. Lopez, a rule against Hawaii's common sense laws, a pattern continues where the U.S. federal government cannot guarantee us the most basic protections, Gibson told CBM. Oh, this is California Black Media. Okay, Wolford, he brings up Wolford, which didn't do anything about block parties, mind you, but simply said the state cannot unilaterally decide to the default assumption of gun rights that they are forbidden on private property, though business owners could decide for themselves. Now, here's what's so crazy about this. Now, so keep in mind, we're talking about someone who just broke out shooting, right? In case you didn't know, there's a law against just breaking out a gun and randomly shooting at people or just shooting it at people. You can take out your gun and fire in self-defense, but you're not allowed to just go to a block party and start opening fire. That's a crime. You're not allowed to shoot people and kill them unprovoked. That's a crime. We call that murder. You're not allowed to just shoot people and injure them. That's assault with a deadly weapon. You're not allowed to just shoot a gun. I mean, all of these things are all crimes. And oh, by the way, I'm going to guess that they didn't have a concealed carry permit. So this law had nothing to do, this law that he cites had nothing to do with what happened. But that's the law he cites. Because he's an ignorant piece of crap. That's why. Let me clarify. I apologize. He is an ignorant, gun-grabbing piece of crap who does not know what he is talking about. He doesn't. Especially, let's consider this. First of all, concealed carry permit holders are amongst the most law-abiding people in the entire country, right? They have proven, studies have shown that they are actually more law-abiding than law enforcement, meaning if you look at the percentage of them that have been arrested for crimes is even lower than law enforcement. So first there's that. Then there's the fact that most of these guns that are used in crimes are not in the possession of the person who originally purchased them, meaning they're illegally owned firearms. So they're already illegally owned firearms. And oh, by the way, if they're not concealed carry permit holders, then once again, well, like I said earlier, if they're already shooting at people, do you really think they care if they have a permit? And if they, by the way, if they do have a permit and they decide to randomly shoot people, do you really think they're going to care that they were prohibited from having the firearm there? How dumb do you have to be? Apparently as dumb as Mike Gibson. That's, well, stupid is as stupid does. And this is a guy who's been in the state legislature for years. And he's still there. And will continue to be there, well, until term limits eventually put him out. All right. For those of you who do not know Jon Ossoff is one of these senators, probably one of the most hotly contested races in the nation. He's a senator out of Georgia. And if Democrats are going to be successful in taking over the Senate, this is a seat that they have to win. They cannot. There is no possible way that they continue to hold on to the Senate without holding on to this seat. Well, Jon Ossoff is a guy who's he's a guy who just talks about how he wants to get billionaires or billionaire money out of politics, right? Me personally, I don't get it. I don't get why do billionaires get to put a bunch of money in politics? And why does everybody else get to put money in politics, but people with money don't? I mean, if you look at it, most of the billionaire money in politics comes from the left. Most corporate money goes to the left. Republicans, on average, have much smaller donors. But anyway, I digress. Now, this one here is funny because this is a story over at the Washington Free Beacon, and it says, meet the 39 out-of-state billionaires bankrolling Jon Ossoff's campaign after the senator denounced billionaire money and a coin-operated system. To Senator Jon Ossoff, Democrat from Georgia, the billionaires are to blame for driving the culture of corruption in American politics, and he has appointed himself as the man to put a stop to it. He could start by taking a look at his own campaign, which has accepted nearly $400,000 in campaign contributions from billionaires so far this election cycle. Ossoff, a liberal who is widely considered the most endangered Democrat incumbent senator heading into November, has garnered presidential buzz and a national profile. With his fierce denunciations of billionaires, the Trump family, and the Epstein class, quote, Epstein class, but his self-styled grassroots campaign for a second full term has accepted contributions from 39 billionaires since the start of 2025, according to Forbes and Federal Election Commission records. Ossoff's roster of prominent billionaire benefactors, none of whom appears to be from Georgia, includes progressive mega donor George Soros and his son Alex Soros, as well as Jeffrey Epstein's associate and LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, Hotel, Air, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and his sister, Harvard Corporation senior fellow and former Obama Secretary of Commerce, Penny Pritzker, and Microsoft divorcee Melinda Franchise Gates. Contributions according to Ossoff's own logic, could make him beholden to their interests of his ahead of his own constituents. Let's go back and go down here and look at the list here. So this is the list of the billionaires who've given him money. Adam Norwitt, do not know him. Don Levin, J.B. Pritzker, James Chambers, John Morgan, John Morgridge, Jennifer Pritzker, Catherine Rayner, Pat Stryker, Amos Hostetter, Amy Goldman Fowler, Brian Shrimp. There you go. Let's call him Shrimp. Anyway, Chris Larson, Christopher Stowe, Christy Walton, Dirk Ziff, George Soros. I'm trying to see if there's any other notable names on here. Once again, Penny Pritzker. Yeah, so there's a list of 39 folks here in the article. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat, and you guys can go ahead and take a look at the list right there. But think about that. I mean, dude is just, I mean, first of all, his whole thing is, well, yeah, I want to, we should get billionaires out of politics. Billionaires and millionaires, let's just be honest. The mega wealthy give more to Democrats, and they give to Democrats because they can afford to, right? Labor unions, now that they've made it so that you cannot force someone to join a labor unions are still the biggest donors, right? But their political power and the money that they're giving has come down a little bit because people can opt out of giving money to the union. But even that having been said, you look at the trial lawyers, you look at the medical associations. These are all liberals, and they're all handing money over to the Democrats. So John Ossoff is nothing new. What's interesting to me is the idea that they want to say, okay, well, they want to get rid of money in politics. Well, how else are candidates supposed to get the word out? If I can't raise money to be able to buy media, to be able to get the word out, especially when we know that 90% of the media, 95% of the media is in the tank for the Democratic Party, how do you find an objective way? How do you cut through the noise? There is no way to cut through the noise unless you can raise money. And what's funny about this is, liberal Democrats have a very, very hard time voting for billionaires. Just ask Tom Steyer, who spent somewhere I think this time around, he spent somewhere almost $300 million running for governor of California and lost. When I say lost, I mean he got his arse whopped. Not even close. Not even remotely close. He got whooped. And because, I know a lot of liberals in California were like, I kind of liked him, but I couldn't get myself to vote for a billionaire because somehow being a billionaire equates to evil. I don't see it that way. I think being successful, being able to become a billionaire, and mind you, Tom Steyer earned his money. Donald Trump, you say what you want, Donald Trump earned his money. He may have started off with millions from his father, but he turned the millions into billions. Right? Elon Musk earned his money. I may not like some of these other folks, some of these other billionaires. I may not like their politics, but guess what? They earned that money. So it meant that they were good at something. Doesn't necessarily mean they're good at choosing politics or good at choosing political candidates. But it shows they're at least not dumb. They may be ignorant in some areas. They may be wrong in some areas, but at least they're not dumb. I don't think being a billionaire makes you inherently evil. Some Democrats, well, they kind of happen to believe that. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Now, parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your hog holster today. This first video here, this is Mr. Besant. He is, well, let's just say he's I'm trying to remember. Anyway, he is the highest ranking openly gay elected official. I mean, not elected official, appointee ever in government. And that's something that not a lot of people know. And he's appointed by President Trump. And here is him on the Will Cain Show getting asked about it.
You are the highest ranking gay public policy office holder, I believe, in the history of America. And I will bet you there are some people watching that don't know that what I just said, because you're not a member of the Biden administration. That hasn't been the top line of your resume. You're not the first and proclaimed and celebrated because of that fact. That's been a fact in the background, unimportant to the Trump administration. I'm just curious what that says about you and the Trump administration.
Well, it's what it says about President Trump. President Trump created the cabinet, not because who you go home to at night, not because of the color of your skin, not because of your religion, not because of some background. Created it based on merit. So, like, I go to the office every day knowing that I was chosen on merit.
And that is the point. That's the point. He chooses the best people and then expects them to do their jobs. When they don't, they move on. I mean, he's already gotten rid of a few people and replaced them with people who are doing their job. Funny how that works. Anyway, this guy is hilarious. And he's got actually a very, very valid point. Like, when you become a senior citizen, 75 years old, you only really have a couple of choices.
Once you turn 75 in America, you don't have a lot of options, and it's really sad. It really is. You can either be put into a nursing home and forgotten, or run every aspect of government. Those are the only... Seriously. All of you have to make a choice at 75. Do you want to play bingo all day long, or do you want to pass legislation that will have no effect on your life whatsoever?
Yeah, that right there is kind of true. And then, by the way, this is another one that I love this one because this is Donald Trump winning.
So where are you originally from, Ahmed? It's not there anymore. Why not? Ask Donald.
Yep. Now, the rest of these are going to be brought to you by our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. You've probably heard about the epidemic of explosive diarrhea. Well, according to Babylon Bee, fake news you can trust, explosive diarrhea epidemic traced to gain of function lab at Taco Bell Institute. Ooh, wow. Oh, boom, boom. Okay, here we go. Study shows mysterious link between trying to run over ICE agent and bullets striking your windshield. Yeah. Rashida Tlaib introduces new campaign slogan for a brighter future and also death to America. That's kind of accurate for her. That is does kind of be her thing. And then finally, UK finally gets tough by increasing penalty for terrorism to 5 hours of community service. Yeah, the UK is they've gone off the deep end when it comes to their political correctness. Not a very safe place to be. Not a very safe place to be. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any link at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the conscience of the Republican Party at the California Republican Assembly. We've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. And finally, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. That would be at uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, we're going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Throat Punch Thursday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we'll see you mañana.